It happens in an instant. Kim Kardashian, America's most unflinching reality queen, is ordered off Jimmy Kimmel's stage in front of millions. One moment she's sitting beneath the blinding glow of the studio lights, perfectly composed. The next she's standing, eyes blazing with fury. Every step she takes is met with the gasps of a stunned audience. No one can believe what they're seeing. This isn't a skit, not some playful late-night gag. This is raw, unscripted, brutal. Jimmy's voice slices through the thick silence, steady, but edged with control. "Kim, maybe it's best if you leave." The air tightens. Her chair creaks as she pushes it back. Viewers at home sit frozen. In the studio, you could hear a pin drop. Cameras catch everything. The cold glint of her diamond earrings, the bright neon backdrop trembling with tension, the faint tremor in her clenched jaw before she turns away. When the heavy studio door slams shut behind her, it's like a vault ceiling. A chapter of late-night television just ended. But to understand how the night spiraled into chaos, we have to rewind. Only minutes earlier, the room was full of laughter, applause, and nostalgia. What began as a warm reunion between host and guest would twist into one of the most explosive confrontations late-night TV had ever seen. The evening started like any other star-studded spectacle. The band played, lights shimmered, and the crowd rose to its feet as Jimmy Kimmel announced her name, Kim Kardashian. She glided onto the stage in a tailored dress, flashing that perfected smile. The applause thundered through the studio. Cameras panned to reveal Kris Jenner and Khloe Kardashian beaming from the audience, their pride feeding the moment. It felt like a celebration. Jimmy's grin was wide as Kim took her seat. "Welcome back to the show. I always love it when you come on," he said, his tone dripping with familiarity. "You're always so fun and everyone loves you. My whole staff says, she's the best, I love her so much." Kim laughed, her warmth perfectly timed. "I love coming on," she replied, glowing under the adoration. The crowd erupted again, and for a moment it all felt effortless. Two old friends basking in shared charm. Then Jimmy leaned in, eyes gleaming with mischief. "Do you remember back in the late-night days on St. Patrick's Day? We all went to that bar together." Kim tilted her head, smiling. "Yes," she said, laughing lightly. "We had finger puppets, I do remember that." Jimmy chuckled, shaking his head. "You were always supportive of me, always there, even back then." The nostalgia softened the air. The audience hung on every word, imagining a younger Kim in a crowded bar, laughing with the same man now sitting across from her under studio lights. The warmth grew as Jimmy praised her recent comedic turns, her Saturday Night Live cameo, the sketch with Kristen Wiig, her confidence among comedy legends. Kim smiled, her tone calm and sure. "I oddly don't get nervous ever," she said. The crowd cheered, admiring her poise. In that moment, she embodied the image of fearlessness itself. The studio pulsed with joy, laughter, and admiration, a reunion glowing with ease. No one suspected what was about to unfold. Even as the applause roared and the smiles lingered, the cracks had already begun to form beneath the surface. The laughter is still echoing when Jimmy leans back in his chair, that mischievous grin tugging at the corners of his mouth. The shift is almost invisible, but the air in the studio changes. "So, Kim," he says, voice dipped in mock wonder, "you never get nervous? Ever? Not even when you're on stage with Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell staring right at you?" Kim tilts her head, her hair catching the light. "Never," she replies with calm certainty. "It's just not in me. I don't get nervous." The audience claps, impressed, but Jimmy doesn't let go. His eyebrow lifts, his tone tightening. "Not even when you took your driver's test? Sitting there with sweaty palms on the wheel, trying to prove yourself?" Kim chuckles softly, still poised. "I passed. No nerves. It's playful at first, but Jimmy presses harder." "That's wild," he says, letting the words hang. "Because most people, most human beings, do get nervous. Unless..." He lets the pause linger, then grins. "They're not human." The crowd erupts with laughter, but the camera catches something different. A flicker in Kim's eyes, quick as lightning. She doesn't flinch, but her smile tightens. Jimmy senses it and leans in, voice glinting with challenge. Superhuman Kardashian doesn't feel nerves. Doesn't feel pain. Which makes me wonder, is that why you finally broke your own rule? Kim's gaze sharpens. "What rule?" "The Bentley without a bumper sticker rule." The audience roars. They know exactly what he means. Years earlier, Kim had famously sworn she'd never get a tattoo. Why put a bumper sticker on a Bentley? Yet here she is, forced to acknowledge the tiny infinity symbol inked on the inside of her lip. Her smile falters, just for a heartbeat. Yes, she admits, her voice even but colder now. I did it. It's hidden. It's private. Jimmy doesn't miss a beat. Hidden but permanent. Even Bentleys crack sometimes, huh? Laughter crashes through the studio again, but it's different this time. Sharper, almost mocking. Kim keeps her posture straight, her laugh light and practiced, but her eyes betray her. A shimmer of irritation, gone as quickly as it came. The warmth between host and guest begins to cool. The tension creeps in, quiet but unmistakable. The audience still claps and cheers, but something in the rhythm feels off. The laughter runs too long. The applause sounds forced. And in that subtle distortion, the first crack in Kim's polished composure begins to show. Jimmy senses the unease and leans back, feigning nonchalance, but the glint in his eyes says otherwise. You know, Kim, he begins, tone dripping with false charm. Your mom's always been great to me. Always fun, always looking out for you. He pauses, letting the anticipation build. In fact, he glances toward Kris Jenner in the audience. Remember that little setup at the Ivy? That interview that wasn't exactly an interview? The crowd bursts into laughter, some confused, others delighted. Kris waves from her seat, smiling broadly. Kim mirrors the smile, but the light in her eyes dims, her face tightening under the stage glow. Yes, she says evenly. I remember. Jimmy chuckles, pushing further. You walked in with your resume ready to land a job. Meanwhile, your mom told the guy it was a date, a full-on Emmy-worthy date. The audience howls. Some clap, others gasp in disbelief. Cameras cut to Kris, who covers her mouth with mock modesty, relishing the moment. Kim laughs, but it's brittle. She shifts in her chair, body stiffening. It wasn't funny then, she says, her voice firm. And honestly, it's not funny now. The laughter falters just slightly. A ripple of unease runs through the room. But Jimmy isn't ready to let go. He leans in once more, grinning. Come on, Kim, admit it, that's classic Kris. Setting you up, mixing business and pleasure, Jimmy says, chuckling. I mean, the poor guy even offered to bring his Emmy as a date accessory. That's comedy gold. This time the laughter feels different, louder but hollow. The kind of laughter people give when they're not sure if it's safe not to laugh. Kim's jaw tightens. The smile is gone, replaced by a mask of composure stretched too thin. It wasn't comedy gold to me, she says quietly, but the sharpness in her tone cuts through the noise. The studio air thickens. The spotlight feels hotter. The set's bright colors suddenly glare too loud, too artificial. Even the band shifts uneasily, waiting for a cue that doesn't come. For the first time tonight, the balance of power tilts. The queen of composure sits perfectly still, her eyes glinting with restrained anger. The king of late night sits across from her, unwilling or unable to pull back. The storm hasn't hit yet, but everyone can feel it brewing. The laughter dies out. The air grows heavy. The stage is set for the eruption to come. The Ivy story lingers awkwardly in the room, its humor evaporated, leaving only tension. Kim sits rigid. Jimmy leans forward, unwilling to let the night return to safety. So, he begins, voice light but edged. You've been busy. Ryan Murphy show, big cast. Glenn Close, Sarah Paulson, Naomi Watts. That's a table even I'd be nervous to sit at. Kim nods once, her expression careful. It's been amazing, she says evenly. We all clicked right away. It works, Jimmy's eyes narrow, his smirk sharpening. And now this new comedy, The Fifth Wheel. Eva Longoria directing, Will Ferrell producing. That's quite a leap. From reality star to rom-com queen. The audience cheers at the list of Hollywood names, but beneath the noise there's an undercurrent, a murmur of doubt. Jimmy lets the applause build, then strikes. I mean, he says, voice laced with sarcasm. Standing next to Kristen Wiig for 3 minutes on SNL is one thing, but headlining a comedy film? Carrying it, that's different. The words hang in the air, sharp as glass. Some in the crowd laugh nervously. Others groan, feeling the sting. A ripple moves through the room. Cheers tangled with discomfort, applause colliding with unease. For the first time tonight, the audience itself is split. Kim's jaw tightens. Her eyes flash, no longer hidden behind politeness. The mask slips. She leans forward, her voice calm but edged with steel. I wasn't put in those rooms as a joke, she says, each word deliberate. I was asked to be there because people believe in me. Because I've proven I can deliver. She pauses, the silence stretching taut. And if you don't believe it, Jimmy, watch me. The crowd reacts in a burst, half cheering, half frozen. Some clap furiously, shouting her name. Others sit in uneasy silence. The divide cuts through the room like a fault line. Jimmy raises his brows, pretending to play along, but his grin has thinned. Proven, he repeats, voice sugar-coated but barbed. Or just cast for the headlines. The room freezes. The silence is suffocating. Kim doesn't move. Her eyes lock on his, steady, unblinking. Headlines don't last, she fires back. But talent does. And I've built an entire career proving I can outlast anyone's doubts, including yours. The tension is electric. The audience doesn't know whether to clap, laugh, or hold their breath. A woman in the front row shouts, "Go, Kim!" while someone further back mutters under his breath. The division slices through the studio like a blade. Jimmy leans back, arms folded, feigning ease. But the tightness in his jaw betrays him. "Well," he says finally, his tone low and measured, "I guess we'll see if the movie critics agree with you." A nervous laugh ripples through the crowd, thin, uncertain, and dies just as quickly. The silence that follows is heavier than applause, heavier than jeers. It presses down on the studio, pinning everyone to their seats. Kim doesn't blink. When she speaks, her voice cuts through the stillness. Cold, deliberate, and sharp as ice. "You'll see it, Jimmy, and when you do, remember this moment." Her words drag across the air, heavy and inescapable. The band doesn't play. The cameras hold on the two of them. Her gaze steady, his jaw tight. For a heartbeat, time halts. The queen of reality television stands toe-to-toe with the king of late night, neither willing to yield. Then the crowd erupts. Louder than before. Louder than the show has been all night. Half rise to their feet, cheering Kim's name like a victory chant. The other half sit frozen, shaking their heads, muttering about ego and theatrics. The room splits clean down the middle, and in that fracture the show itself teeters. Unstable, electric. Jimmy senses it but pushes forward, masking unease with bravado. He adjusts his tie, his smile thin and glinting with calculation. "Well," he drawls, "if Hollywood doesn't work out, at least you've still got Skims." Laughter ripples, but it's strained, more reflex than amusement. The energy shifts, uneasy. Jimmy leans closer, twisting the knife. Or should I say Nike Skims? Because let's be honest, Nike doesn't usually bet on anyone. They don't need to. Makes you wonder who's really carrying who in that partnership. Gasps slice through the air. The laughter dies, leaving only the sound of nervous shifting. Even the band looks uncertain, eyes flicking between the two. Kim's posture hardens. The practiced smile vanishes, replaced by something steely. She draws in a slow breath, controlled, deliberate, like a fighter measuring the distance before a strike. "I built Skims from the ground up," she says, her voice low and unwavering. "Nike didn't hand me anything. They saw what I created and they wanted in. Not the other way around." Her words hit like steel on concrete, measured, immovable. Jimmy smirks, trying to reclaim the upper hand. Of course. It's just, people were buying Nike long before Skims came along. Seems like you might need them more than they need you." The crowd detonates, cheers, boos, shouting her name, shouting his. Chaos fills the air, ricocheting off the studio walls. Kim doesn't move. Not yet, then slowly she rises. The screech of her chair legs against the floor slices through the uproar. A sharp metallic note that freezes the room. Every head turns. Every camera locks in. She stands tall in the spotlight. A silhouette of control and defiance. The air holds its breath. Jimmy's grin falters just for a moment before he forces it back. "Oh, come on, Kim," he says, his voice forced light. "Don't be dramatic, it's just a question." Kim's gaze doesn't waver. Her reply is cold, precise, and final. "No, Jimmy, that wasn't a question. That was disrespect." The words land like a gavel strike. The audience explodes again, half roaring in approval, half jeering in protest. "Go, Kim," collides with "sit down," until the noise becomes one roaring storm. Kim turns without another glance. Her heels hit the floor like drum beats, measured, unhurried, absolute. Each step a statement, each step a declaration. The cameras track her every step, relentless and unblinking. They catch the swing of her hair, the rigid set of her shoulders, the fury sculpted clean across her face. The spotlight clings to her like a hunter, her shadow stretching long and sharp across the stage. At the edge of the platform, Kim stops. The studio doors glint under the hot lights. For one suspended heartbeat, the world holds still. Then she pushes through. The heavy door slams shut behind her, echoing like a gavel strike. Final. Irrevocable. The moment is immortalized. The queen of reality television walking out, unapologetic, unbroken, leaving the king of late night standing in stunned silence. The audience freezes, breath caught between awe and disbelief. Jimmy forces a laugh, hollow, brittle, the sound of a man trying to fill a void. But it's too late. The scene has already burned itself into legend. This isn't an interview anymore. It's open war, and Kim Kardashian has just drawn the line in fire. The echo of the door hasn't even died before Jimmy leans into the mic, stretching a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," he says, voice cracking on composure, "I think Kim Kardashian has left the building." The reaction is instant. Half the room explodes in applause. The other half drowns it out with boos. The studio turns into an arena, cheers and jeers colliding like thunder and lightning. Jimmy raises a hand for calm, but the chaos only swells. He cuts through the noise with deliberate edge. Maybe it's for the best. Maybe tonight. Kim wasn't ready for the questions. The words hit like a gavel, sharp and heavy. Cameras whip to capture the fallout. Faces twisted in shock, delight, outrage. Then, as if on cue, the stage doors open again. Kim reappears, not for the cameras, but for herself. Her back is turned as she walks toward the exit, haloed in gold from the overhead lights. Time stretches. Each step lands with precision, her heels striking like clockwork. The cameras follow, desperate and reverent. The spotlight trails her, painting her as both warrior and exile. Phones rise across the crowd, trembling to record history. And then the final sound, the door slamming shut once more. A single echoing note that silences everything. In that instant, the night crystallizes. Not as a joke, not as a scripted bit, but as a rupture in the facade of late-night television. The queen of reality TV had walked out on the king, and the world was watching. Within minutes, the outside world erupts. Clips flood social media. Grainy phone footage spreads like wildfire. Each second dissected, slowed down, replayed. Millions watch her stand. Hear the scrape of the chair, see the door slam. Headlines ignite. Kim Kardashian walks out on Jimmy Kimmel, live on air late-night chaos. Reality queen versus comedy king Nike. Skims meltdown rocks, Hollywood edits swarm the internet. Some set her silhouette to orchestral crescendos. Others freeze on Jimmy's smirk with captions like, "Composure or collapse." Twitter fills with split screens and rewinds of the moment the air changed. TikTok becomes its own battlefield, half glorifying Kim's icy exit, half parodying it. Then come the think pieces. Variety. Late night's most unscripted moment in years. BuzzFeed. Was it real or the greatest PR stunt of all time? The Hollywood Reporter. Ego, power, and the art of the walkout. But beneath all the noise, one question echoes louder than the rest. Was this chaos choreographed or the night the mask finally slipped? Kim remained silent. No tweets, no statements, no captions. Just that image, her silhouette in the light, walking away. The door's echo still ringing like a verdict. Jimmy ends the show with a shaky grin, tossing off a joke meant to sound effortless, but the tremor in his voice betrays him. The king of late night no longer looks untouchable, and so the aftershock rolls on, screens replay, commentators debate, fans take sides, but one truth stands bright and undeniable. A new legend has been written. Live, unfiltered, and impossible to forget.